iScrappers, Tom from the iScrap app. Today is Wednesday, April 3rd, 2019. Well, we hope that many of you have been doing well, enjoying some of these nice, strong copper prices that we've been seeing. We're going to go on the optimistic side of things and say, let's talk about the copper prices a little more than the steel prices, because over the last week, steel has been, let's just say, not so much fun to deal with. Now, we are doing this live, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We try to do our Facebook weekly report, let you know what's going on with the scrap metal market. So if you're watching us live, feel free to comment, feel free to ask questions, feel free to say hi. We will respond as many times and as quickly as we can. If you are working like so many people are and don't have time to tune into our 1 p.m. weekly report, not a problem. Make sure you leave your comments, questions, concerns, prices, or even just howdies below, and we'll make sure to get those answers to you as quickly as we can. Now, over the last week, we've seen a lot of different things going on. A lot of them normal, a couple of them abnormal, a couple of them not so good, a couple of them decent. No great news to report, so let's just get into what it is. So we've seen the copper prices rebound slightly. In the last few days, we did see them drop about 5 cents, but this morning we saw them climb about 3.5 cents back to the prices they were near a week ago. While these prices are about 8% off of where they topped out at in June 2018, we are still seeing a very strong market, and we're really trying to make sure that we follow the Chinese and US negotiations just to see how everything kind of comes together, boils itself in this big pot, and hopefully becomes a nice, delicious, US and Chinese tariff-free soup to help free up some of the metal prices. Now, one of the big questions that we've constantly been being asked, both at our scrapyard and through our scrap recycling group and through emails, is about insulated copper wire. So it's a topic that I want to spend a little time on today. Feel free to ask any questions and we'll make sure to get you those answers. But what we've seen over the last 12 months is a real change in the market. Traditionally, there was half a dozen grades of wire. Yes, of course, there are hundreds or thousands of other grades, but they normally kind of got grouped into a big lump sum, and they would be separated by percentages between 40 and 50% recovery, 50 and 60%. Larger volumes, of course, you would go more specific. But what we've seen with these tariffs going into place and the Chinese putting restrictions on the scrap coming into their country is a real problem for the insulated copper wire markets. Now, we've seen things in the past, example, well wire getting mixed in with regular THHN, when in reality, well wire is 6 or 7% below what a regular THHN copper recovery would be. Now, you might say 6 or 7% doesn't seem like a lot, and sure, it doesn't seem like a lot when you have 100 pounds, maybe $6, $7. But when you're dealing with 100,000 pounds and it's $6,000 or $7,000, that's where we start to have big problems, and we have to really make sure that we watch out and we learn what's going on to ensure that we are staying up to date with what the market conditions are. Now, the copper market has been one of the stronger markets this year, with the entire commodity markets really rallying. Now, we did mention something inside of our weekly report that we typed up. It was just talking about coffee farmers, where there's over 25 million coffee families and coffee farming families or companies throughout the world that have kind of gotten hit because their commodities have gone down this year, while many other commodity prices have gone up. Now, you might ask why that matters, and it doesn't matter specific to scrap metal, steel, copper, aluminum, but it does matter in the bigger commodities picture because it just shows that there are so many fluctuations in the markets. I remember when pork commodities were going much higher, and then I also remember when there was a gluttony of pork and there was so much on the market that the prices were dipping. Same thing with any other type of meat, soybeans, produce. There are all different commodity trades that go on for these things. Even oranges, for like orange juice, those are different commodities that get traded at different prices depending on the market conditions, weather patterns, and just supply and demand. So there's a lot of different things that go into the metal prices, and we want to make sure that you think about these things, maybe not when you're going to sell your materials, but just so you're trying to learn about what's going on with the market and how to treat things, just something to keep in mind for the future. Now, the aluminum prices have recovered a little bit. We've seen the market jump a few cents a pound, nothing too crazy to report opposed to a copper price or a steel price with larger jumps. But what we have seen is a little bit of an increase, a little bit of a stabilization. We saw some aluminum can prices in the 44 to 47 cent per pound range. That's a positive sign. We also have seen non-magnetic stainless steel starting to recover. We started to see some of the stainless prices, say that 10 times fast, drop into the low 20s and high teens per pound, but it's recovered, and we've seen the stainless prices right around 27 to 33 cents a pound on average over the last 2 or 3 weeks. Also, the 316 market has increased 3 or 4 cents, so we've seen the different stainless markets, which has been very weak over the last 16 months, really starting to recover, recoup, and hopefully recycle itself to higher profitability. So while we're watching these non-ferrous prices, we'll just slip in a little side note. Gold prices have remained below $1,300 per ounce. And while we're talking about everyone's favorite yellow metal, gold, well, kind of maybe not, but yellow brass might be your favorite if you're getting more of it. We're going to go into the palladium and the platinum side of things. Now, the palladium prices are definitely down about 8% over the last 2 or 3 weeks. They're up over the last 16 months by about 30%, and platinum prices are down 40%. So why are all these things important if you're not going to buy jewelry, engagement rings, or big bling to put on your neck? Well, a lot of these items that we're talking about, palladium, platinum, and rhodium, are the 3 primary specialty items, specialty metals that go into the catalytic converters. Now, we've seen a very large increase in the catalytic converter prices, and that's due to these markets blowing up the way that they have. Blowing up in a good way, having the prices increase so drastically. Now, what has happened? That's brought a lot of buyers out of the woodworks, which is generally what happens. Someone thinks that they know something about catalytic converters, and they start getting overly aggressive when they see a market that's hot they can make a quick dollar at. We tend to give people the advice of staying with people who have been relatively consistent over the years, because while they have always helped you make money, when the times are good, hopefully you stick with them and you're able to help them in return. Now, of course, business is business and you do what's best for you, but just little things that we see, talk about, and want to kind of digest and put out there into the scrap metal universe. Now, we're going to talk about steel prices, which is not going to be a fun topic considering they're down about $25 per ton over the last 2 or 3 weeks, with another $10 drop seeming to come any day. Now, the steel market really was very strong, and a lot of people are going to say, well, why is the market collapsing $15 to $30 per ton when we saw such a nice increase in the first half of March? Great question, and not one that's as easy to answer as A, B, C, and what's the next letter? Well, I think that it's D. So we have to watch the steel market, and it has a lot more outside influences than we'd like to see. Now, maybe the steel markets over the last month and a half were able to really grow the supply that went into a lot of these mills and export markets. And we saw a couple of people drop their prices 3 times in about a 9-day span, which is very aggressive, but it also shows that they are not going to sit here and take a hit on material that they plan on buying in the next few days, weeks, or months. Now, a lot of scrap yards try to have relatively steady prices, so while the market goes up $10 or $15 per ton, when it goes down $10 or $15 per ton, they try not to move it, especially when it's on a large drop. Now, if we saw a large drop of $40, $50, $60 per ton over the last 2 weeks, that would be a true cause for concern, but when you're talking about a 3 to 5% drop on the overall steel side of things, that's nothing to really worry about too much. Of course, you're not going to make as much money when you're going to sell it, but don't forget, if it dropped back to the levels that we saw as recent as 18 months ago of $50 or $60 a ton for light iron, let's just count our cards and enjoy that full house that we have now. Maybe it's not a royal flush like it was 9 years ago, but you know what? It's also better than having 5 jokers in your hand when you're playing a card game. So you just have to look at all these things and kind of take them all into different perspectives to figure out what's going on and how they're going to interact with each other. So the market as a whole, it's steady, it's strong. We've seen the stock market rise over 26,000 points. We've seen a couple of really positive things happening. So we've seen good things going on. Please ask us your questions, give us your concerns, tell us what we can do to help you make more money on your scrap metal. We'll have some more videos coming out in the upcoming weeks as we continue to enhance, improve, and add more content to the site to help you learn more about the scrap prices, how to sort and separate, and to make sure that you make the most money on your scrap metal. Guys, this is Tom from the iScrap app. Please, we look forward to talking with you and seeing you every Wednesday afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And until next week, I'll scrap you later.